Hello, and welcome to the How to Exit podcast, where we introduce you to a world of small to medium business acquisitions and mergers. We interview business owners, industry leaders, authors, mentors, and other influencers with the sole intent to share with you what it looks like to buy or sell a business. Let's get rolling. Hello, and welcome to the How to Exit podcast. Today, I'm here with Aaron Muller. Aaron is a Inc. 500 entrepreneur and author of The Lifestyle Business Owner: How to Buy a Business, Grow Your Profits, and Make It Run Without You. Aaron runs the LBO Academy, where he teaches people to buy a small business, make six figures, and work as little as 5 hours a week, becoming a lifestyle business owner. Welcome, Aaron. It's great to have you on the show today.
Hey, thank you, Ron. I appreciate it.
Cool. So I always like to start with people like the origin story. Like, you were born, now you're here. Let's fill in that gap between. How did you get from, being you, doing your normal thing, and get into M&A and buying businesses and being a small business owner and what we refer to as acquisition entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. Well, it starts out basically out of high school. I was in high school and I didn't want to go to college, so I figured I needed to come up with another plan and pretty much put it out there to my boss. At that time, I was washing trucks. It was a pressure washing and truck washing company. I put it out there to my boss that I wanted to do something on my own, and he offered to sell me half his company. This was on my junior year. Once I graduated, we had made the deal that I would buy half of his company, and that's what I did. I didn't go to college. I ended up learning that sales was my forte, and we built the business up pretty fast. I was a young kid, very, very ambitious. Then we got into a retail store. We said, hey, let's set up a retail store and start selling industrial equipment. And I always call that my 4-year college education. I learned how to fail. And I was funding that retail business with our profitable truck washing company. And at one point I was like, hey, to my partner, hey, Rob, maybe we should sell our truck washing, our really good profitable business, and dump more money into this piece of shit, And so I said, but how do you sell a business? I was literally having this conversation on like a Friday. Okay. And this is no BS here. Monday morning, I come in and there's this envelope underneath my door. It says, to the owner, personal and confidential. And I was like, okay, this is kind of scary. And so I brought this thing into my office, and I'm like, opening up the envelope, and it says, have you ever considered selling your business? And I'm like shocked, right? I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Am I being like recorded? But this is in 1999, right? So, right. I mean, technology probably would have been these days. But anyways, it was just a random situation. I called the broker. He comes over. I kind of interviewed him. I wasn't sure if he was, very good, but he looked good. He drove a junky car. And I'm like, I'm just going to give this guy a shot to sell my business. And I had it on the market for like 6 months. So I would talk to these people, elaborately about our company and get into everything. And for 6 months, and I would sit there and recognize what my broker was doing wrong the entire time, right? And finally, after 6 months, he hadn't sold the business and he hadn't sold anything. So he was kind of new to the business. And I had asked him, I said, hey, Mike, you haven't really sold anything, but I think you might be perfect for our business to buy. Why don't you buy my company from me? And he goes, Aaron, I've actually fallen in love with your company, listening to you talk about it this whole time. So I'm going to, make an offer and buy your company. So anyways, at that time, I kind of fell in love with his job and he fell in love with my job. And I ended up buying an auto repair shop right after I sold my business. I didn't make anything on the business deal because I had debts and I just walked away with nothing, but I had saved some money up, and I bought an mechanical auto repair shop with the intention of walking away from that business in 1 year, or not walking away, stepping out of the business and becoming a business broker. And this was in 2001. I bought a company in 2000. In 2001, I became a business broker selling people's companies for them. That's kind of the background.
Okay, cool. So it's interesting you're talking about coincidences. I was actually, I helped an investor friend acquire an interest, 60% stake in a tow truck company. They do impounding tow truck. And we were on a call this morning. He's like, okay, I'm ready for my next acquisition. Let's do something. And like, so we were looking for bolt-ons and, auto mechanics, it's like that fits in. And I just called him right before the show. I was doing my research again to kind of just do my background on you. I was like, do you have any questions for this guy? Cause like this is what he does. He's been in this space for a while. And he's like, well, I'm driving right now, but it was cool. Like there's, I think that things happen for a reason. I don't believe in coincidences, but just to have you on the show today and have you have that experience is cool. So, let's just go right into the kind of the M&A side of it. Knowing what you know now and the experience you've had now, and you're actually helping other people do this. What do you know now you wish you'd have known before you sold that first business or you bought that first one?
Um, it's a good question. Let me think. What do I know now that how to hire a broker better? 100%. Getting somebody that like really understands the industry, not new to the business. I find that I'm in I travel between Las Vegas and Seattle, and I've been trying to buy a business in Las Vegas, and I am so disappointed in our industry. I have tried to buy 5 companies, and every time I try to buy a company, I get the financials from the broker, and it's all lies. I mean, it's not represented as to how they're represent. It's not actual to how they've represented it online. And so once I did, I bail. They get mad thinking that I'm the guy that's not, going to ever do a deal. But it's like, give me some real data, give me some accurate data, and don't lie. Like it's the weirdest thing I've seen, and that's the problem in the industry. And me hiring that guy was, he had never sold a business, so he had no experience to really help me through that process.
Yeah, there's an underlying problem there, and and in my circles, we kind of joke around, say brokers kill deals. Like, there's a reason they call them brokers, because you work with them, you might be broker than you started
Man,
when you.
I've never heard that, but you know what? You're kind of right. It's like I always say, I'm a deal maker. I tell people right off the bat, hey, listen, I'm a deal maker. I'm going to try to make this happen one way or the other.
Yep.
Part of representing you is getting this deal done. Sometimes I have to explain things to you from the perspective of a buyer, right? So
You know,
I'm sorry. I was going to
go,
make another point on
go
that.
ahead.
One thing that I realized, when I was going through the process of buying a business, I happened to see how everybody did their process. And I saw all these like flaws in the process. And so what I wanted to do when I became a broker was give everybody, educate them really well, educate them. Don't try to sell them something that they don't need or that they wouldn't be a good fit for them. It's about matchmaking. It's about listening.
It's interesting. One of the underlying problems for the business brokerage world is, brokers. A lot of the brokers get paid a fee for the listing and the marketing and the effort to sell. So they'll take on listings, and what happens is, and everybody on the show has heard this a few times. Everybody watching, multiple episodes of this, but the scenario typically is business owner decides, I think I probably ought to sell. So they call business broker A, maybe it's a referral from a friend or something, and they go in and said, I'm trying to sell, and this is what I need out of my business. And the broker always tries to one up it a little bit. Yeah, I can do that. I could probably do a little bit better than that. And they pick a number. And then the business owner thinks he needs a second opinion. He goes to business broker number 2 and says, hey, this guy told me I can get, I'd say probably the business, maybe the guy told him I can get you $1 million for this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the next guy and he goes, man, I just visited a business broker. My friends told me I should probably talk to you too. I come to you, and he said he could get me $1 million. What do you think about that? And the guy goes, well, I think I can beat that just a little bit. I can do 1.2. And then, next thing he knows, the guy sees a third guy, and now they're at 1.4, and the thing's probably worth 700K.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It never was worth what the first guy did, because the first guy didn't do an honest evaluation. He just took what the owner wanted. And often when you ask a business owner, like, what do you want for your business? They say $1 million. You ask them how they came up with the number, which I don't. I just say, how can we get you there? And we work on that later. But when you find out how they come up with the number, their financial advisor told them they needed that added to their investment portfolio to retire. It has
Mm-hmm.
no connection whatsoever with the value of their business or how it's performing. They're just told that if you want to retire comfortably living on what you're living on now, you need this number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a reason why I think it's the numbers in the high is high, like something like 80% of all businesses listed for sale, by brokers or on biz by sell on those sites, they just never sell. And it's because nobody was ever honest with the business owner to start with that, you know, certain things need to be in place, like your financials and your team and, your management structure when you leave. Like, those have to be in place for it to be an easy sell. And then the valuations were never done fairly for the owner.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the biggest problem. My question, I'll ask the question like, what's your magic number? Like, what are you wanting for your business? Not like what's your business worth, but what
Mhm.
what are you wanting for, right? I said it won't change how I value your business. I just want to know if we're, once I do it, if we're going to be in the ballpark. A lot of times they won't give me that, or they'll think it's worth. Like you said, owners or sellers always think their business is worth a lot more, but it's really important as a business broker, merger acquisitions, whatever you're doing, to educate. You are the expert, not that seller. Educate that person on why their business is not worth what they're asking, or what they really truly want. And you made the comment of like 80% of the businesses don't sell, and you're 100% right, especially in markets that don't have good brokers that will inflate, or they'll listen to the seller and just go whatever they want. It's called buying a listing. And basically, uh, I'll walk away from 80 to 90% of the listings. I won't even take them on because I'll educate that person. I almost do a due diligence, my own little due diligence on that company before I even list it. So I have very, very good listings when I get them, because I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to BS people. And I'm just not interested in that anymore.
So I was just interviewing one of the top coaches for I don't know if you're familiar with like Roland Frazier and Carl Allen and all those guys, the other guys that teach this space. But I was just interviewing one of the top coaches for that yesterday, even, and he's prior Marine. He's no joke, straight thing. And he brought up a great point: is that when we're looking at these business owners and we're expecting a perfect balance sheet, a perfect profit and loss statements, and perfect accounting, we're dreaming into a fallacy that doesn't exist, because these guys didn't come out of MBA. They're guys like you. They came out of high school. They came out of a situation. They figured out they're really good at something, and people are
Mhm.
willing to pay them for it, and they built a business around it.
Yep.
Right. And the only reason they ever did a balance sheet or a profit and loss statement or accounting at all is because they had to for their taxes, or somebody
Yeah.
told them they needed to do it to sell it. So justifying like walking away from a business because the financials are off, he thinks is absolute BS. He thinks that, and I believe him now that I listened to his reasoning behind it. And he says if they've got a great product that's proven in the market space that people are buying, all right, and there's some growth behind and stuff, you should be able to look past some of the financials, right? If you know it's solid enough, as a seasoned entrepreneur, I have a team that can fix that stuff, right? You have a team that can fix that stuff. You own multiple business, you kind of have to. So, a lot of cases where, a lot of these guys doing, acquisitions and stuff. So a lot of their balance sheet was off. They're missing things on there. And I like, my response is now is like, okay, well, that's because they didn't do it. They handed it over to somebody, and that was created for them, after the fact.
Hmm.
Right. What is your thought process on, great businesses that just don't have great representation in their math and their financials?
Well, I think here's the thing is, I agree with what you said to a point, right?
Right.
So if you know nothing about an industry and you're trying to buy that industry, it's a little scary to begin with, right? And then you got to look at, so then all you have to do is go by the financials, right? Like, what does it cost to run this business? And what, what are my revenues, all that sort of thing, right? So if I'm in an industry and I already know about it, I don't care. What's your gross revenue? I'll fix it. And I'm going to do all that, right? I already know what to do right off the bat. But an industry I don't know a lot about, like an example, I was looking at a wholesale type distribution business, and they sold to some big box stores and some on Amazon and all that. Their revenue, or their revenues were high, but their profit went from almost 200,000 down to like $26,000. And I'm like, what happened? Oh, guess what happened? Shipping costs went up 600%. I mean, they tell a story. You can't ignore those financials, because sometimes if you see things happening, and if it costs, like all of a sudden now, like labor costs, especially now, you should be looking at financials right now. You should be looking at them, because all of our costs as business owners are going up like crazy, like crazy. So you cannot ignore it right now. You have to see what's happening and make good decisions. But I think that they need to get things in line if they really want top dollar. I mean, I just sold one of my companies for a ton of money, because and due diligence was 40 days and it closed and I got all cash because my books were tight and they
Yeah.
didn't have to change the LOI on the value at all.
Yep. The interesting thing is I'm of the mind right now. I was actually digging through resumes for bookkeepers and accountants yesterday because I'm going to put a couple on the team. That I honestly think that I can fish all that out if you're willing to show me your business banking statements.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the difference that you paid transport, so and so transportation corp. The bill last month was 600 and the bill before that was 100. What
Mm-hmm.
happened? So it'll tell stories without actually having them have to have perfect accounting and perfect books. I think we can decipher that, and I might be able to get some decent deals. I'm gonna take a look at some businesses I had originally looked at, and go, yeah, you call me back when you hire an accountant to clean up this mess, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I think I might be missing some pretty decent deals out there, just because I'm expecting things from owners that are just not in their natural nature,
Yeah, and
right?
I think it also it comes down to time, right? So if you have the time to put into a business, you can make. And I tell people this all the time. It's like, what are you going to do with this business? Because that's the true potential success of this company. It doesn't really truly matter, like you said, it doesn't truly matter what the numbers are if you are going to be in there and really working it and all that sort of thing, right? And changing things every day. But if you want to be able to step out of that business or kind of be an absentee from the beginning, you got to be a lot pickier about that business, because if you don't want to put a ton of time into fixing all those things, then it's going to be you need to find a little bit better business in that way, because that does take a lot of work to just define every little problem and then fix it and everything. So, but when you're in it every day, it's a lot easier to do it.
So that
And
when
I
you're
and I don't think like a balance sheet has to be perfect by any means. What I talk about is when I get these financials from these people, right? And I'm like, I walk away from the deal. It's total misrepresentation.
yeah
It's like adding back $170,000 in inventory as a negative expense. So then it becomes a positive on the bottom line. I'm like, that's like you're messing with inventory, playing games to make it look like you made money. You didn't make money.
yeah
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah
It's fake. It's fake numbers. It's manipulation
Yeah, I
from
cure that
somebody.
really quick because I always request the last 3 years of tax returns, right? Like, I
Yeah,
wanna see what you told the IRS. If you're willing to lie to them, we got a problem, right? You got a problem. Your broker might lie to me on the financials, but when I compare that, it needs to match up to some extent. And they never do, by
I
the way. They
understand.
never match up 100%, but it
No,
needs to match. I need to be able to get the gist of what's going on in your
yeah,
business by looking at your tax returns
that's all I
compared to
want.
what the paperwork you gave me on your financials. If I can't make a correlation of what's going on there, there's something definitely wrong. So,
100%. Or they're overpricing the business now
yeah,
by 100 or two, $300,000 because the misrepresentation. So
yeah.
all that plays into it when you're talking about books.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that keeps catching my eye with a book title and some of the stuff you say on your LinkedIn and some other things is, managing a business for where 5 hours a week. So,
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about what you think needs to be in place where a business where you're pretty much a board member at that point, right? You're
Mhm.
overseeing it. It's running on its own. What does it take to have a business running that well? What are the elements?
I'm going to say that the very key thing is good managers to run whatever. If you have multiple divisions or you have major company with one division, uh, these managers are key. And so you have to have the revenues to be able to pay good enough to have the right type of manager in place. And then obviously all the little systems that you put into place. And those are constantly changing. I mean, I'm constantly updating, fixing my problems and fixing issues, like trying to make it a little better. I mean, you got safety programs and, training programs and different things like that all, oh man, I'm failing in my accounting department. You know what I mean? Like, but if you have a good manager that's going to run that business on the day to day and run it like it's theirs, that's 100% key. And that's what I've been able to do for all my companies.
So, your team,
Mm-hmm.
and then your systems and processes, right?
Yeah, the team. I mean, the team more than the systems. I mean, the systems are very important too. Don't get me wrong, and that's what I teach in my book. But it's really like you got to have a foundation, having somebody that will follow the procedures and everything. You can't just have somebody that wants to do it their way. You want them to think like an owner. One of my things, when I hire my managers, I only hire managers. I don't hire all the other people. But I say to them, first thing I said, do you like to be micromanaged? And if they go, man, I don't mind it, then it's like, okay, well, this might not be a good fit because I'm not a micromanager. I need somebody to be thinking like a business owner. I'm going to give you a lot of freedom. I said, but if I see things going on that need to be adjusted, I'm going to give you that feedback. And I expect that you're going to make those changes because I'm giving you very limited feedback. And when I do, it means a lot to me and it should mean a lot to you.
There's something to be said for that rigor of here's how to do this business. Here's what step one looks like. And I'm doing that for one of the projects I've got going on, actually in my wife's business that I'm helping her kick off. And it's imagine when you sit down and write down how to do what you do, sometimes you step back and go, why do I do it that way?
Uh-huh.
I bet there's an easy way. So you clean up a lot of the systems and processes because you're in the process of documenting it. Just because something's always been done a certain way doesn't mean that that's the way it needs to be done. A lot of
100%.
times, things are happening. And that happens a lot of these businesses you're looking to acquire that have been around for 15, 20, 30 years. Like, oh, that's the way we've always done it. Well, aren't you glad I'm here? Because we're going
Well,
to take
I
it
love
places.
I love all that, and I say, uh, when I'm selling, like I never sold houses, but
Mhm.
here's the difference between a person buying a house and a person buying a business, right? You gotta somebody walks into a house and they're like, "Oh, I don't like the colors of the walls," like I'm not gonna buy it, like, and we're all thinking, paint the damn walls, man. Uh,
Right.
but a business broker, or I'm not a business buyer, they'll go in and go, "Oh man, if I just change the color of the walls, I'm going to double the business," right? So they have a vision, and you have to have that vision and be constantly questioning your business. I do it every day. I go into companies and I see what people are doing better, and I sit there and go, okay, how can I enhance my business based on some things I've seen? And as a broker and seeing thousands of businesses a year, or not a year, but like through the years, it's like I've been able to really make my companies better by constantly wanting to try to be better, never thinking that I know everything, and knowing that there's things out there that are changing constantly, technology and everything else. But you have to be open to it. You can't be so just pig-headed when it comes to change and doing better just because you've been doing it for that many years, like you said.
It's funny is I've been in both worlds. I have a real estate portfolio, and that was my previous business before I got into acquisitions. So I've been in both worlds, and I can tell you, business home buyers are not visionary at all. That's why there's a business out there called staging. Right? People will
Mm-hmm.
you put an empty room and it looks small. People go, I don't even know if my furniture will fit in here. But if you stage it as a kid's room or stage it as an office, they
Yeah,
can
makes a
see it
huge,
and
huge
believe it, and they'll
difference.
buy the house. Right? It's a huge difference. I can see where in businesses that's different, right? And then you were you're talking about, you know, that visionary side of it and being able to improve things. You know, I regularly go to the like pitch things like where VCs are people are pitching VC ideas. I go to the co-working spaces and do entrepreneurial days and stuff and listen to pitches. And one of my close friends knows me pretty well. He goes, "You don't invest in startups anymore." Like I gave him a startup that reached out through me and it's doing pretty
Mhm.
good. And
So
somebody says, "Why do you buy businesses instead of start them? You started quite a few and you do really well." I said, "It's just a numbers game." I finally somebody showed me the math that only X number of percentage of businesses succeed after the first so many years, and only a certain percentage of those make it to the significant business scale where it's $1 million or more. And I said, when you do the math, it's like 1 in 2,000. So if I want to create a business that'll generate $1 million a year in revenue, I need to go start like 2,000 businesses. That if I want to play only by statistics, or I could
mhm.
just go buy one that's doing that right now and have it, and within 90 days probably be up and running it, right? And
Yeah,
do
I
my
mean,
due diligence. Yeah.
100%, 100%, and it takes 4 to 5 years before you. And I love it when, well, I was profitable year one. Yeah, what, you making $1,000 a year? I mean, like that. I'm not. Come on, man. Like, don't even kid yourself. It's like that's what you buy a business because you can be profitable from day one, like hundreds of thousands of dollars profitability versus like dumping money into a business for 4 to 5 years. I don't know if you knew I had a company called Chom Chom Roller. Have you heard of that?
No, what was that?
Pet hair roller.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I discovered this product in 2008 with a partner, and he had cat problems or cat hair all over the place, and he discovered this product. Anyways, it took 3 years before, I mean, I could even sell 5,000 units, right? Like, and I was ready to give up. I'm like going to the storage unit, and I'm putting stickers on each one. I mean, it was 3 years for 5,000 units. And then all of a sudden it started going up. And by the time I just sold it, and by the time it was 10 years into it, we're selling, 3,500 a day, but it took 8 years, almost 5 to 8 years before I started making real money, like, and then it blew up. Right. So it takes that long, even with, and I had the world's best pet. I mean, I have over 100,000 reviews on Amazon. Like, it was that good of a product, right? Number
Awesome.
one in all pet stuff. And so it just takes that long. I don't care about patents. I mean, I had all that. It just doesn't matter. It takes that long to be
A lo
successful.
So many people think that business is either a sprint, I can get there fast, or it's a marathon, I gotta be in it for the long run, and they're both wrong. I don't think that business is a sprint or business is a marathon. I think it's a relay race, and I just wanna pick up the baton when you're 5 minutes from the finish line or 500 yards from the finish line or whatever. I wanna pick up the baton when you're up, you're running, you're in the lead, you're doing well, and
Yeah.
then take it from there. So,
Yeah.
I love using that analogy is like, a lot of these guys, like, why don't you want to start another business? And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, because I'm 50 and it's a lot of work, you
Yeah.
know. So you've been doing this for a while now. You've got a lot of stuff. Is there a particular reason you have a lot of stuff that's kind of centers around that auto area, or is that just what you fell into? Because that's kind of what you what you do. I'm looking at it because it's very profitable industry. It's actually a decent profit margins. I think they're kind of ripe for a decent roll up. So
Yeah, I mean, I other than just automotive, I like service companies because I have like a commercial pressure washing, commercial hood cleaning, truck washing company, and then I have a handful of auto shops and things like that, right? So um, I don't really, say I go towards just that. I go for service companies where you can't compare pricing, right? So luckily for Chom Chom Roller, we own the patent and the trademark and all that, right? So we were able to dominate a market. In the automotive business, I could be the most expensive shop in town, but be the busiest shop because as long as I'm giving the customer what they want, all the things that people are craving in America these days, service.
right.
It's as simple as that, really, good quality, but still, like, service is still like what people want and be treated good and all that. You can dominate your industry, and there's and they can't you can't really people can't really compare your pricing so much because it's not always apples to apples, right? They just know that, hey, I get treated good there, and they always get my car fixed right, and if I do have a problem, then they take care of it, and I get my car washed, and things like that. They justify it themselves, like, they're really expensive, but they're really good, So I want that than a product business,
I get it. I get it. So, you've got a unique position in the fact that you're both an acquisition entrepreneur. You're buying your own businesses, and you're a business broker.
Mhm.
Are you currently a business broker? Or you've been a business broker in the past.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you're
currently in Washington State, and I'm getting my license in Nevada because I can't find a business to buy through the brokers. So I'm going to get my own license.
cool. So, the interesting thing is you got both sides of it. You're an active buyer and you're an active broker. So, one of the things I like to ask people are, what are some of the common myths inside of this profession that you'd like to just debunk? It's just not true. People believe it, and it's just nonsense.
Oh, well, the pricing myth, that your business is worth X amount over your revenues. Like, that's almost not even existent, like, some businesses might sell one times revenues, right? But a lot of people think that it's two, three times revenues. Like, I hear that like all the time. That's a huge myth.
2 to 3 times profit or
Yeah.
your seller's discretionary earnings,
Yes.
maybe,
Yes.
but not your revenues,
Not your
right?
revenues. Yep.
Matter of fact, I could care less what your revenues are. Like, you could have a $50 million revenue business if your profit margin, if I can't figure out how to fix your profit margin, and if your
Mhm.
I looked at one. I actually looked at one when I first got into this. They were doing 12 to $13 million a year, but their profit for the previous year was $15,000.
Yeah.
Right. The only reason I put an offer on that was I thought I could fix it because I looked at the industry. I was looking at comparable businesses in the space, and the profit margin should be 15 to 20%. So if I could even get close to that, it would be a wonderful business to own.
Right.
Right. They had too many employees, too much equipment. They had 55 employees and I think 40 something vehicles, company vehicles of some sort, transportation, heavy equipment, and that type of stuff. And, I looked down the road, there's a company only doing 3 million. They had run $3 million business, not a 12 million, but 3 million on I want to say 18 or 19 employees, and they outsourced all their transportation,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And they're running at a 22% profit margin, 25% profit margin. It's
Wow, that's
like,
good.
okay,
Wow.
so they were for sale. I was like, my first thought was I talked to both of them. I'll buy this one and have them run that one,
Yeah, wow.
right? Have because they're about 45 miles apart. But I'm more interested, and a lot of people I know are more interested is like, what is the cash flow month to month? Because that's critical. You could be have all the revenue in the world and even be decently profitable. If you don't know how to manage cash flow, you could be in trouble because you might
Yeah.
be like if you're cyclical or anything like that, and you don't manage it. Uh, you know, cash flow is critical, and then the profit margin. What's there at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That tells you more about like how well a business has been. So, is there any other myths besides that the revenue multiple, like they should get 2 or 3x what their revenue is?
I think, I mean, honestly, I can't think of a myth of our industry other than that, like just pricing. I mean, there's just, to me, it's a lot of that, but, if that's what you're asking me, right? Is just a myth of the business brokerage world, the
Or
industry.
even in the acquisition entrepreneurship world, right? Like, um,
Okay. That all owners make a lot of money, businesses. I mean, like that everybody's a millionaire that's a business owner. That you're profitable. Like I said, from day one, it's like these are all things that are untrue. I mean, business ownership is very risky and difficult, but extremely rewarding. And people that do it are so happy every time. And but they have to put in time. And even in my book, I say, you know what? I recommend that you spend at least 12 months in that business learning it inside and out before you become an absentee business owner. There's so many people that call me and go, Aaron, I want to get like one business and then I want to get like three more in the year. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, that's cool and stuff, but let's just do one first. Let's see how you do. And I've seen some people be able to do it, right? And they're really, good that way. But most people need to really get their hands wrapped around within a year to 2 years in a business before they should even go into another business because it just takes away their ability to focus and do a good job, especially if the company's not real large too, because you don't have all the people to help you run it properly.
what's the biggest area around mergers and acquisitions that you're still intrigued by and learning more about?
I'd say right now it's a lot of the internet businesses, the e-commerce, FBA, Amazon stuff is changing. A lot of people are wanting to go down that path than brick and mortar. It's I see it changing in a negative way because of all of our supply chain problems and stuff like that. So I keep an eye on it, but I'm not as optimistic about it as I was. And cost, I mean, look, Amazon just added another 5% on to their sellers, for fuel. It's like 5%. That's a lot, like they're already taking, if you're letting them do everything, they're already taking about 30%. So it's a lot.
So I stay away from the. So I have one of the rules I told you, like never buy myself another job. And I say that anything I get a hold of, I expect to be there for 60, 90, 120 days, right? But I want to know a plan for they're running it on their own. The second rule of thumb is I don't touch anything where a single party can disrupt the entire business.
Yeah.
Right. To me, those Amazon stores and Amazon fulfillment is exactly there. You're one decision away from Amazon. Imagine running a fairly lean, competitive space where you only have a 7 or 8% profit margin on your product, and Amazon goes, "We're going to charge you 5% more, on
Yeah.
on cost." You know, now that's 5% of theirs, so it doesn't translate to a 5% of your profit margin, but it eats into it. Right. You're already running really lean.
Mhm.
So I'm just not a fan where like one or two parties, can just totally disrupt your
Yeah.
day. I have friends who were doing really well in they were doing product reviews and they were making a killing off of like Google AdSense type of stuff. And this is 10, 15 years ago, but they were printing money. Man, this was just crazy. And then there was a change. And one day they were doing like affiliate like stuff for Amazon and stuff. Amazon changes their affiliate program, goes from I think it was like 10% to 2%, something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And two of them just like, I just can't do this anymore. There's
Yeah.
no money in it left for me. So, what's your feeling on like knowing who the disruptors are that can run your day when you're looking at these businesses to acquire?
I think it's very important. I look at all that because, like you said, one little change, and I had a lot of challenges with my FBA business that I overcame. And I was lucky that there was changes made through Amazon and different things that actually saved my product. But there was counterfeiters and all those types of people out there, that are just trying to take a piece of your pie, and so you have to really look at there's a lot of consolidation happening with companies in every industry. I mean, I've been saying this for a while that, eventually there's not going to be any more mom and pops because corporate America has basically like gobbled up everything and run people out. It's hard if you're a hardware store to try to compete against, Home Depot or Lowe's, they're a disruptor. And it was, a lot of people didn't see that coming, but you have to try to like, that's what, again, I like service companies because you made a comment about being recession proof or resistant. And I like those kind of businesses. I like niche businesses. I bought a restaurant hood cleaning business right before the COVID crash, right? Or the COVID thing, that
Yeah,
pandemic thing.
that thing, that
I mean, I
worldwide
don't even want
pandemic.
to
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about it, but right before I bought it, and I was thinking, oh, this is like literally the most recession-proof business. I'm buying a hood cleaning for restaurants, and they have to
And
be
it,
clean because the hoods are, liabilities, all this stuff. I kid you not. 2 months later, COVID happened, and
the universe says, "Hold my beer."
thank God I was doing grocery stores. So I was able to like stay in business because the grocery stores still had a deli.
Yeah.
And so we were busy the whole entire time. But that was a great, like, whoa, slap in the face. Like, wait a minute, there's nothing that's why I made the comment to you. It's not recession proof ever. It's resistant. And then something else comes and hits you in the, gut and goes, oh my gosh, man. Like, so, you never know what's going to happen out there, but you can't be afraid of everything. Like I've made millions of dollars and been very successful as a business owner. And I've failed many, many times, man, many times. And as I get older, I don't want to fail as much anymore. But if you don't take those risks and just go out there and do it and try it and see if it happens, can make it happen, you're never even going to have the opportunity of total success too.
So, what are your top three tips if you're like, or top three things you want people to know if they're thinking about buying a business, going to you as a broker, or when they're thinking about buying I don't know if it's like stay in your industry or that type of stuff, but what are the top three things you think are important from the buying side? And then when we get done with it, we'll actually talk about a little bit about when you're selling.
Yeah. For a buying side, I try to tell people, don't get in, don't buy your hobby. Like I recommend not buying their hobby. Try to find a business that makes a lot of sense, that everybody needs that service or product or whatever, and it's not potentially going to go away in the next 10 years, right? So, something that's, maybe a niche type industry that you can kind of, say, I always say the guy that's pumping septic tanks is living on the lake. It doesn't have to be glamorous. People always want some fancy business like a restaurant. And I'm like, if they come to me about a restaurant, I'm like, have you ever been in the industry? Have you ever owned a restaurant? They're like, no. I said, okay, well, I don't recommend buying it because that's one of the most difficult industries to be in, especially if you don't know anything about it. You can get robbed blind, and a lot of people, buy them because they're glamorous, or they think, "Oh, my friends are going to all come over." And you're like, you don't want your friends coming to the damn restaurant. I'm going to tell you right
They
now,
want a discount.
they want everything discounted. Yes, and I say the same thing about my auto shop. I don't want, I told my friend, he's like, well, don't you want people coming? I said, no, I don't want my friend. You should notice I don't advertise my auto shops on my Facebook page. I don't want you coming because my other customers love me. You guys all think that you should be treated like a king. And if you're not, I'm a big jerk or whatever, like I don't want to deal with that, man. And you want a big discount. So just try to stick with companies that make sense and like try to be very logical minded with it, not emotional, like, oh, I love flowers. I'm going to buy a flower shop. Don't do that. Like try to think, are flowers a big business, a good business still? Photo process. I love photos. I'm gonna get a photo processing company. Next thing you know, they're digital photos, right? You just got to be like, try to be like logical about it, and if it's gonna last.
Funny thing was one of the bar owners pulled me aside one day. He says, "I'm thinking about selling this place. Are you interested?" And he knew I had ties in the tech industry, and I'd had some decent money come in from the tech space. I was just bouncing on the side, and I said, I don't think I do. And he says, "Why?" I said, "Because I know everybody here. I beat up half of them, and if I'm the owner, they're going to either want a discount or be mad at me because I don't let them come. I kicked them out of the bar down the street 5 weeks ago,
Yeah.
right?" And I say that jokingly, but I wouldn't want to own a business where everybody that comes to the door is my friend, just because it's just it's a tough thing to do. Um, I really believe that there's a disconnect in normal friendships where, in a perfect world, if you decided to start a business, they should start like a baby shower. Like all your friends should come together, bring business to you, bring you some presents to help you start your business and support you. Where what they do is like, hey, I know you own the auto thing.
What can you
My
give
car,
me? Yeah.
yeah. What can could you give me a discount? My car doesn't work and I'm really having a rough time. It's like, dude, I know you got money in the bank. I just watched, but
Well, yeah, you're right. And one thing I learned from my retail store, I told you my 4-year college education I had was, I was the nice guy. Nice guys, seriously, they finish last in business. I'm sorry, they finish last. Like, don't be that nice guy, because you go above and beyond, you do all the stuff, you extra, and you never get paid for it. Okay. And so one thing I made the commitment to myself, I said, the next business I have, I am going to be very good about my margins. I'm going to not give these big discounts when I don't need to, and I'm not going to, go above and beyond unless I'm going to get paid for it, right? And so when I opened my auto shop, I decided friends and family 10%. My mom gets 10%. My dad. It's a hard ass way of thinking, but you know what? It's made me survive. And I've had situations with family getting upset because I charged them for a battery, and I'm like, that fucking battery is $110, man. Like, I'm fucking mad that you even have a fucking, you're pissed off that I had to try to keep my business open and I got employees to pay. Like, don't
you
come
should
in
try to
anymore.
put you should try to put batteries in the diesels. I think I paid $300 a piece for mine, like in my big
Exactly. Yeah,
diesel
I'm
dually.
probably low at 110 now. I've been out of the business, every day. It's like 150 now. So
Yeah.
it's just, you don't even want to do business with people like that. You want people that appreciate that. Hey, I can trust these guys. I can trust my brother or whoever, to give me, or my friend. They're at least not going to take advantage of me. They're going to be, and they're going to take care of it if there is a problem. That's what you're looking for. I
Right.
always support business people, friends, and stuff like that, and I don't want discounts.
Yeah. Awesome. So from the selling side, like we just talking about like what other things to know about buying it. When you're selling your business, what are your top three points that you would make as a broker? Like, hey, before you come to me, have this in order or have this done.
Well, it's the organizing the financials. I mean, like that's 100%. If you want top dollar for your business, get your financials in line, because you're going to get a guy like Ron who wants to go buy it at a deal because your business isn't all organized, and he's gonna have to get you to discount it so he can get a deal on it,
Yep.
or so he can fix it, right? And
Yep.
so, you know, have your books in line and make sure that it looks good. Make sure that you're profitable. I mean, I know that's a broad statement, but try to be making at least 10 to 15% bottom line, so that you have some good value on the business. And you don't have to worry about cleaning that business and making it super perfect, because again, those people, buyers, have the vision, and they might see what they're going to do. So I kind of like it when people have things a little messy, but make sure that those financials are good. And before you put it on the market, make sure your broker puts together like a very extensive marketing package that has a lot of information and data in it, that a buyer can make a really good, easy decision to buy it and pay top dollar, because the information was given to them in a very clean and thorough way. it actually adds value to the business and your systems. If your systems are in place, that will add value to your business too, because it'll be really easy for somebody to go, wow, they run that business really good. It's gonna be really easy for me to buy this business. So that's how you get top dollar for your business. All those things right there.
And I'd love to see that. Was really, really active last year. So even though I've been doing this only the acquisition entrepreneurship for probably 2.5 years, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. So, and I've bought things and sold things, but just this is what I do. I've looked at least 250. We did 200 at least for the marketing roll up. So 250 businesses. And I can tell you, I can count on a single hand how many times people had a what I call a deal room or a Dropbox folder that had everything from day one. We reached out to them; they were interested in selling. We were interested in buying. We signed an NDA, and they gave us access to a Dropbox folder that had all the financials, all the tax statement, everything we at least a big chunk of it until we gave an LOI. And then they had the rest of it ready. I can count it maybe I think on 2 or 3 fingers. I don't think I get all the way to my 5th finger, my thumb. I don't think I could have to use my thumb if I counted how many times, like when I would sort of have your act together. Usually the process is I ask for certain things and I have to wait a week or 2 to get them.
Piecemealed together.
Yeah.
And that's why getting it up in order ahead of time. And that's why I won't even put it on the market until I have my whole package ready to go. When I sold our company, we had over 25 people doing due diligence on the other side. And did I have everything right off the bat? No, but I was able to get it all put together within, I'd say 10 days of due diligence. I was able to, it was a massive amount too. I mean, it was unlike anything I've ever seen, but I was organized enough that I knew where everything was, that I could do that, but have a broker help you with that, because that's key. That the broker at least needs to be a good broker, because they'll know that, that you can't but so many brokers piecemeal stuff to people, okay, now can I have the tax return? Now can I have this? Oh, okay, I see that. What about this? If you just put it all in there right off the bat, I mean, you're going to have the offer that comes in is going to go to closing if it's all been represented properly.
The one thing I would say is if you're going to a business broker today and expecting him to help you straighten out your finances, you're not going to get top dollar. We look at the last 3 years of everything. So I want to see your last, at least we might let you add a year because of COVID. If the last 3 years you had a bad year because of COVID or something,
Or
we'll
too
take
good of a year.
or too good of a year or something. Something's off, and you want to, we might ask for another year, or we might you can ask us and go, hey, the first 6 months of COVID, we were in shell shock. We didn't know what we were doing, and we recovered afterwards. We'd like to give you, whatever that, I'm going to mess this up, 2018, 19, the year before it started.
Yep.
And that's okay. But we're going to look at an average over a period of time. So what you have today and what you've done in the last 6 months isn't really going to add a lot of value to your thing without having what you've done the whole time. And the last 3 years is going to be way, way more important, the average of everything, than like what you've done in the last 2 or 3 months. So how do you combat that as a business broker? You work with what you got, and
yeah, I mean, we're always looking for the story, right?
Yeah.
And you want to try to figure out why. And large swings always scare me. When I see large swings, like especially in the year that they want to sell it, all of a sudden they're like super profitable, but they weren't, like the last 2. But then this year they're super profitable. Then you're like, okay, but why? I'm having a hard time even, digesting this myself. I always look at everything as if I'm going to buy it. And so that's how I can give good advice, to people. But I think that you have to try to tell a story as to, COVID, let's just say, is the worst story, because it's so messy and you don't know really what's what for those 2 years. Like an example, we had one of our companies is a commercial pressure washing, and we did all this disinfecting, right? And we were doing it for Amazon, and doing over $60,000 a month extra in business there. But if you looked at that in my revenues, and then you looked at the next year when I didn't do any disinfecting and my revenues grew with not getting that 60,000 a month, okay, that's a good story. Like, hey, they actually got another $60,000 worth of work, and they still grew from that and aren't even doing that work over there anymore. So that's a like a big selling pitch, right? But if they're like, it went up $60,000 a month, and then the next year is down, and then they want to value the business based on the one where it was high, and you're like, it's not going to happen, man. Like that current year, is really truly important. I'd say I've sold in my years of selling businesses, I've sold more businesses on that last year than I have the average, like you're saying. So it kind of contradicts a little bit what you're saying, but it's true. What you're saying is true as well. But it's because I know how to package that properly and tell the story properly. And so many brokers don't do that the right way. And so you're like, okay, but that doesn't make sense, like what you're trying to tell me doesn't make sense. But if you do it and it makes sense, logical sense, oh, okay, this year is good, and it's not an anomaly. This is real. This is really something that's that is worth paying more money for, or less money. I mean, if it's making less money that year, then that's what they're going to get paid on that year. So
I can see that, and if you could show me, like, I think my biggest concern is show me how this is going to continue. Like, this isn't just
yeah,
a phase
people
or a
want to see that they're
right,
making an investment. They want a return on it, and they're not. And I always say, listen, I'm not starting the business for a reason. I want a business that's making money right now and it's got organized. Don't tell me what I can do. That's my time. My
right.
time is not your value. Like
I don't
so.
buy anything on coulda, woulda, shouldas, right?
I'm like,
Like,
why are you not doing it? I would say, well, how come you're not doing it?
yeah.
I'll ask the seller that. Well, no, they can do this. I said, well, how come you're not doing it? Well, it's hard. I said, okay, well, I mean, that's going to take somebody's money and time and energy to do. So you can't get value for something that you woulda, shoulda, coulda done.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't pay money for woulda, coulda, shouldas. And I bring it up real quick when they say, like, "Well, if you do this and this, it'll be worth that, and we want a premium on that." I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, no." So, hey, we're hitting the top of the hour. We're gonna have to wrap this up. Let's make sure people know how to get a hold of you, right? So we have it on the screen. So if you're watching this, it is his business is on there. It's IBO Academy,
No, LBO.
LBO. Sorry, I'm
Yep.
reading my thing. It's LBO Academy. Sorry. Uh,
Lifestyle business owner.
Lifestyle Business Owner Academy, and the other one is reach out to is his. Let's see if I can get that to work. There we go. His LinkedIn. If you want to reach out to him and connect with him, ask him about different things, or just connect with him and watch what he puts out there of content and what he's up to in the world. It's the standard LinkedIn, which is https linkedin.com/AARON hyphen Muller. Again, it's so that'll be in the show notes. It's on the screen now if you're watching the video, but if you're on the podcast channel, it'll be in the show notes for you. But you can find him on LinkedIn or at lboacademy.com. So I do appreciate having you here. We got about 2 minutes, or actually 1 minute left. Is there one key takeaway you want people to know, like a finishing note? This is, if you don't remember anything else, remember this.
I think getting information out there is important, but don't over um, absorb yourself with too many books. I mean, you get all this, oh, I read 20 books a month, it's like, man, like that'll shut you down. Stay focused a little bit, especially if you're a little ADHD like me, like you got to like really focus. So you can, listen to Ron's podcast, but don't listen to 20 podcasts because, I always say, don't get ready to get ready. And that's what those people are doing. They're always getting ready to get ready versus doing it. And all you do is just do it. And there's failures in life and business and everything else, but you don't have successes without, potential failures.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you for being on the show. And your key takeaway is stay away from the analysis paralysis,
Yes.
right?
I like
As
it.
they jokingly call it. Thank you for being here. I'm going to end the show right now.
Thank you.
Awesome. And hang out for a second when we're done.
All right.
Hey, it's your host, Ronald Skelton. I want to thank you personally for watching the show today and invite you to call our new hotline, 918-641-4150. That's 918-641-4150. Call us and tell us about our show, ask questions, suggest a guest, or even tell me about a business you have for sale, and we'll reach back out to you. Again, that number is 918-641-4150. Call our hotline and leave us some information. Thank you.
The Investors and Entrepreneurs Professional Mastermind. The Investors and Entrepreneurs Professional Mastermind combines the traditional peer-to-peer mastermind introduced first in Napoleon Hill's famous book, Think and Grow Rich, with accountability partnering, where your peers help you ensure that you set goals, take actions, and get results. If you want to scale, blow past roadblocks, and achieve success faster than you might think is possible, I suggest you take a visit over to tiepm.com. That's tiepm.com and check out the Investors and Entrepreneurs Professional Mastermind.